Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your patience. We were experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties there, which has been remedied, I've been assured. Welcome to this beautiful spring shower Monday morning. Of course, April showers bring Mayflowers, so we're all just waiting for the Mayflowers now. This is a meeting of the Electoral Area Services Committee, which is a committee of the Comox Valley Regional District. And the items discussed here are basically those pertaining to the three electoral areas A, B, and C. We're going to start off by recognizing the fact that we're very fortunate to be doing our business today on the traditional unceded territory of the Comox First Nation peoples. We're going to start off with City West fiber installation. We have an update here from Stefan Wowacham. Is that correct? And he's going to bring us up to snuff on what's going on with the fiber optic installation on Denman and Hornby. Move in a second on and over to you, Stefan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. We're very, very grateful to be able to have the opportunity to be able to present to you today. Joelle Barfoot is here to be able to share slides and give you a brief update on how the fiber optic installation is going on both Denman Island and Hornby Island. And very, very high level. It's looking great. It's continuing to progress as quickly as physically possible. And the pickups in both communities have been absolutely fantastic. So without further ado, Joelle, let's hand it over to yourself, and please take it away.
Thank you. I'm just waiting for permission to share my screen.
Hi, folks. I'm off video. I'm having some technical challenges. So Wes Isis also here with City West, echo Stefan's intro there. Really appreciative of the chance to present.
And the co-hosting should be available now, Joelle.
Thank you.
Thanks, James.
How does that look for everybody?
Very good.
All right. Well, thank you for having us here today. And I suppose we can get started with Denman. So for this project, we have completed 667 homes. We are in the planning and construction stage for 238 and have identified 47 homes that require some additional care and attention. Wes, did you want to elaborate on that?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Joelle. And for folks on the call and may have the full history here, so the amount of homes on Denman exceeded the initial funded envelope. So we worked really closely with NDIT in the province to pull in the additional 238 that are shown there, as because it had exceeded the total count that we had initially been funded for. And then the not serviceable that you see there, those 47 homes, we're going to treat those on a case-by-case basis. We've issued letters to each of the impacted homes owners to notify them that they're on that 47 list, and we'll be arranging one-by-one visits there over the spring and summer with those folks, and just to see if we can find a solution that will work for them. I think that's probably good on my end. If there's any questions on Denman, we could move on to Hornby. Yeah, and Hornby Island, was a huge success and very similar, but even more so in the vein of the total home count that was anticipated on island and funded for. So you see the red line there. That represents 686 homes that was in the funding envelope. And then through our work on island, we've exceeded that by nearly 300 homes. And right now there's a further 291 remaining to be built. They're in various permitting stages, and we're finalizing the data on all these and prepping to discuss a bit further with the province and NDIT just on how to best approach the remaining homes. And again, in that sort of really good news vein, you'll see on the not serviceable, there's 4 homes there that are sort of like extremely hard to reach or have some geological issues there, but a much smaller list overall than what we saw with Denman. Stefan, I don't know if we want to comment just on, sort of overall community interest and uptake. Like I know that overall it's been a well received and lots of really good input from folks coming online. And yeah, just really pleased on our end to see just that community buy-in and support and seeing folks being able to leverage the power of proper high-speed internet.
Yeah, well said, Wes. I think that's it's a bit of a testament to the CVRD, the Internet Services Committee, and to the community at whole. I know that there was an active lobby to be able to obtain support for fiber optic connectivity for both the islands that spans back many years, and it's fantastic to actually see the pickup that we're seeing across the communities, and the fact that the province and NDIT have stood in to support as well. This is one of those really good news stories where we're able to accelerate connectivity for underserved communities. So it's a big shout out and a thanks to everybody that's been involved in the process. It's good news.
Thank you. We have some questions. Director Harbour?
Yes, thanks. And thanks to Stefan and his team for coming to present today. And I do appreciate your last words, Stefan. It is a huge achievement. And I do want to thank James and Jake Martins back in the day when we had to do some lifting at the CVRD to pick up on the community advocacy to make this happen with you, Stefan, and your organization. And so impressed with your dedication and perseverance in this project. I think everybody knows I and some community members were sweating it a couple of years ago, but your ability to actually ensure that that what we said we would do happens has been admirable, and I really want to thank you for those efforts. It is big news in the community. I keep talking to people who now have the internet. It's kind of a lot of people are picking up online work. Unfortunately, my son is gaming more than he was before, but we're going to work on that. It's just at all levels of the community. It's really transformative for the islands. People love to have their rural lives on Denman and Hornby, but especially after COVID, we've seen a lot of professional and young families move to the island, and many of them are remote workers, and it allows them a perfect setup. Some of them move in with their aging parents and stuff like that. There's just so many positive stories coming out of this project.
Well, Director Alba, if I could interject for a quick second, it's through no small feat from yourself as well. I know that I don't know if the community is aware as to how many meetings you have attended together with us to be able to effectively lobby for connectivity for the community. So thank you to yourself as well.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you. I do blow my own horn on the island, so just politician. So I'll keep doing that a little bit on this project. I mean, for those in the room who were there, like we had ended up with a referendum with 92% support on this one for this project. It's great to see it proceed. And some of my thought, one of the things we haven't talked about today is at some point we do have that side agreement around some profit sharing in the future. And I don't need to be involved with that, but if as you talk with James and with our staff around some of these things, I am of the mind that if in the first couple of years or first 2 or 3 years or something like that, there might be a way for, and I'm totally getting it ahead of the community and this table, but I'm thinking there might be a way to help with those funds we're going to receive for us to chip in to provide solutions to those 45 owners that are currently unserviceable. So, and maybe a note just for James is, you know, if you jot it, or Jake, just that, yeah, obviously it's not going to be, well, I'd be curious to see what the costs are and all the rest of it, because I think it'd be a good news story is that we leave no one behind at their own private costs, and that we help with some of the revenue we get to help them connect, whether it's through you or through other service providers, perhaps, who knows, right? Because when I know City West was good on messaging around, you know, we're going to connect as many homes as possible, as close as possible. I was a bit more ambitious. I was like, yeah, we're going to aim for 100%. And, you know, I was the only person doing that out there, but I'm not giving up on that. So I think it'd be good in your conversation with our staff. I'm just planting the seed basically today that maybe we could look at some of that for the early years of the profit sharing. So again, thank you, and thanks to your whole team. And I know you're continuing to connect homes every day right now, and that's just fantastic. And also, maybe just one question. I know, and I appreciate you taking my calls the past year a couple of times when like we had service interruption. So, do you have any update on the redundancy cable through the Sunshine Coast when there's an expectation of having that connected?
Yeah, great question. And just before I jump onto redundancy, I think that the concept of looking at the idea of redistributing the profit sharing back to those unconnected homes, I think it's a fantastic idea. So it would certainly be something that City West would support. I know that the Internet Services Committee Director Arber as well has a big interest in wanting to have a voice on how those funds would be redistributed as well. So I think that there is definitely an opportunity for us to be able to find a way to be able to channel those funds in a way that is best for the community, particularly for those homes that have the connectivity issue. In terms of resiliency and redundancy, the Sunshine Coast infrastructure is largely developed now. So we're into the process of final works and then what we call test and turn, which is the software side of turning up services. Ultimately, in terms of connectivity and that redundant and resilient loop that runs through the Sunshine Coast into Vancouver, we're weeks away from that being completed. So we're that close. We're almost there.
That's more fabulous news for today. So again, thank you so much. I don't know if other directors have questions or comments or staff, but yeah, today's a good day. I was sweating it a couple of years ago, and now I just know what it takes to go the extra mile when there's higher demand on the project, and I think you guys have done that admirably. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, just thanks on the thanks, Director, that suggestion around the proceeds potentially going back towards some of the unserviceable homes. I just want to bring to the attention the board does have a policy in place. You established that policy back when the service was first put into place around what those proceeds would be used for. Not to say that policy can't be relooked at and understood more as we start to see some of those proceeds coming in, but just maybe temper some of the expectations that we do have a policy out there already. Yeah, for these specific proceeds. Thanks.
Thank you very much, and thank you for that presentation. We seem to be talking a lot about April showers and planting seeds today, so it's a good day for planting seeds. So I'm going to get my 2 cents worth in to mix metaphors. Of course, I'm looking forward to some information and some progress around working with Connect the Coast and City West regarding the landfall at Williams Beach Road, which is in Area C. And hopefully there'll be some news around that forthcoming. I'm not sure if anything you can divulge at this point in time, but moving farther up the coast to the Saratoga, Miracle Beach, Williams Beach area, I'm very hopeful that we can work together to get some connectivity up there because it's sorely needed.
Consider that message received, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're on receipt of report. You want to All in favor? That carries. Thank you so much.
Thank
Now
you,
we're going to
everyone.
move on to the D, which is the resolution status report for receipt. Moving second on receipt, and just to do a little grandstanding here, I would bring to our attention that we're down to 5 pages. We only have 30 items now on our resolution status report. And you'll notice that later on in the agenda, right in F1, we're going to be discussing strategic planning in the electoral areas. So I would, at this point, perhaps ask the directors between now and next month that we turn our minds to how we can bring this outstanding resolution status report down to a manageable size, which means we have to actually cut and slice and dice because we only have less than a year and a half left in our term, and it'd be nice to actually concentrate on the doables and put the other ones in the cabinet by the stairs. We'll just go with that. On receipt, anyone opposed? That carries. Well, we have some minutes here. We have the Area A Advisory Planning Commission and Area C Advisory Planning Commission minutes for receipt. Any questions on those minutes? Seeing none, anybody opposed? And that carries. Number 2, item of business, Area C Development variance to permit number DV2C25, DV4C25, 675, and 655 on Aerosmith Ridge. Moved and seconded on receipt, and over to CIO for introduction of staff.
Thanks, Chair. Albert Marginet, Planner 1, will be introducing the staff report here and available for any questions that the committee may have. So, Albert, over to you.
Thank you. Through the CAO to the chair and directors, I would like to invite the applicant, Pavel Denisov, to join us virtually, which I believe you'll be doing online.
Maybe if I can just clarify, we see iPhone in brackets 104 online. Would that be the applicant, Albert?
I am unsure. I'm sorry.
iPhone 104, if you could unmute yourself and let us know if you are in fact the applicant. *6. Oh.
This is Andrew Johnson with Strongback Holdings. I may be the iPhone 4. I'm also on Zoom.
You are the iPhone 4, 104, okay. And you're not the applicant for this item, but thanks for joining. We'll get to your item shortly.
Okay, I will meet.
Thanks.
All right, I will proceed. Through the chair to the directors, staff have received 2 development variance permit applications for 675 and 665 Aerosmith Ridge to decrease the minimum side yard setback of the common side yard property line. The Mount Washington Comprehensive Development Resort Facilities District Zone prescribes a minimum side yard setback of 1.75 meters. The applicants wish to reduce this side yard setback from 1.75 meters to 0 meters. This is a 100% reduction. The purpose of this reduction is to permit a retaining wall to span both properties across this shared side yard property line. This retaining wall is to enable safe parking to occur on both properties. The Planning Department has received a geotechnical report supporting development of this retaining wall. The report indicates that different orientation of the wall is impractical due to setback and size requirements for the wall. Staff recommend approval for the reasons that this variance is unlikely to impact neighborhood properties and is unlikely to create visual impacts from downslope. Please be advised that adjacent owners within 50 meters of 675 and 665 Aerosmith Ridge have been notified via mail of the variance request and given the opportunity to comment. To date, no public comments have been received. Again, the agent, Pavel Denisov, is supposed to be joining us online. However, I do not see him available. Thank you.
Okay, well, we'll proceed without him. So is there any questions from directors at this point? Seeing none. Is there anyone in the gallery wishing to speak on this matter? That was well said, but translation, please. Interesting. Okay, so we're on receipt. I'm going to call a question on receipt. Anyone opposed to receipt? And that carries, and is recommendation 1. Moving seconded on 1. Any further discussion on 1? Director.
Yeah, I always make a habit to at least have one comment in there when nobody comments so that people know our rationale. But this is pretty, I think, straightforward in terms of the setback adjustments, and I don't see any issue with the application. So happy to vote in favor.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Well said. So on 1, anybody opposed to the recommendation? Seeing none, moves us to recommendation 2. Moving seconded on 2. Any further discussion on 2? Nobody online? I'm going to call a question on 2. Anyone opposed? Then that carries. Congratulations. Moving on to 3, Electoral Area A, Temporary Use Permit Application TUP 2A24. Moving seconded on receipt, and over to CAO for deductions again.
Thank you, Chair. And again,
Similar
I'll
deductions.
introduce Alberic Marginet, Planner 1, to introduce the staff report for the temporary use permit application. Alberic.
Thank you through the CAO to the chair and directors. I'd like to invite the applicant's representative, Rihanna Walls, to join us at the table, please. Through the chair to the directors, staff have received a temporary use permit application for 3876 Warren Avenue to use a principal dwelling unit as a short-term rental. The zoning bylaw defines short-term rentals as tourist accommodations, which are only permitted in commercial zones. In the residential 1 zone, bed and breakfast home occupation permits allow for tourist accommodations, but these must be accessory to a residential use. In cases where a homeowner is not present during tourist accommodation use, a dwelling lacks a principal residential use, which prohibits the accessory bed and breakfast. This temporary use permit will will allow tourist accommodations to occur while the owner is not present on property. Staff recommend approval of this application subject to conditions for the reasons that it aids in retention and affordability of a dwelling unit. It satisfies the regional growth strategy's goal for local economic development, and the owner is working towards regulatory compliance by making this application. Adjacent property owners have been notified within 100 meters of the subject parcel and given the opportunity to provide comment. To date, 5 letters of public comment have been received, 3 in opposition and 2 in support. Opposition letters cite concerns on impact to the neighborhood and surrounding residential 1 zone and existing bylaw complaints, 1 from 2002 and 1 from 2004. As the board continues to see more temporary use permit applications, staff are preparing a report for the board intended for this fall on regulatory policy options. The intent of this report is to obtain board direction on how to proceed with short-term rental planning applications. Rihanna Walls, the representative of the owner, is beside me and available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Welcome, Brianna. We have some questions. Did you want to make any comments first before we start? You're good? Okay. So Director Arbor, you got a question?
Yeah, thanks. We're starting to get in the flow of these TUPs for vacation rentals since we decided to pursue that route a year or 2 ago now, I guess. But yeah, it will remain a topic, maybe not the highest level priority topic for ESC, but definitely a permanent topic around short-term vacation rental. And I think what we're doing with the temporary use permit is pretty good. we know we're gaining the ability to potentially explore business licenses or other methods to regulate the sector, and that'll come in the fall. So in the meantime, we're just looking at these TUPs as a way to bring people into the fold at a time where the province has brought in their own set of regulations. And I think, you know, this is one file where there's some opposition to it, and but it sounds like it's an existing activity, and the bylaw complaints that were their due date for, you know, a long time ago, I guess. I think that's the test there is, you know, is the activity really detrimental to neighbors in a way that, you know, noise, all these different things that we typically hear, party houses and all that stuff. So I think the TUP does allow that opportunity to test out in a more formal way and bring people from outside of compliance, in a way, under our existing bylaws to compliance. So so I will be supportive. I do note there is some opposition on this one. So whatever the homeowner can do to try to mitigate specific concerns that are highlighted in the letters and always accommodate. It's the same on Orby. It's the same in all communities right now. A lot of communities are using these TUP processes, and it's not permanent. It's not a rezoning. So if it's not working out in 3 years or 6 years or whatever it is, then we haven't granted a license in perpetuity, right? So yeah, so I'll be voting in favor, just noting the thing. I did have a kind of a house meeting in Royston a couple of weeks ago, and with maybe 15 Roystoners, and they were talking about, some of them were talking about, yeah, as long as it's well done, they're supportive. They were also talking about the value of the short-term rentals and the lack of accommodation in that particular area, which helps a lot when people, sometimes it's tourists, but sometimes it's just like families that come to visit their family for a wedding, or they might have someone sick in the community and they can't stay there. So it plays multiple roles in the community that doesn't have any kind of tourist accommodation. So I think I explained this one, my rationale, a little more for being in favor than the last one, but I just want to be clear because I don't want to ignore the people who have some concerns about it. Thanks.
Any questions, directors? Okay, so yeah, it's interesting that Director Arbour should bring that up, because by issuing a TUP, we actually bring you into the tent. So all our bylaws apply. And it's our only actual way at this point in time with electoral areas moving forward with short-term rentals, is we don't have the ability to just create business licenses and do it through that. So the province, this is one way we can make it compliant with the provincial government. I'm interested to see what we're going to bring forward in the fall, if it may be a change of legislation on that regard or something. So did you want to speak, Todd?
Good morning through the CEO to the chair and directors. Yeah, I just want to follow up on Director Arbour's comment about an uptake in questions about short-term rentals. Since the province have requested that all short-term rental operators needs to be registered by May 1st, 2025, staff is receiving a lot of inquiries and information in regards to this registry. Staff has been in workshops with the province on how this registry will look. I'm hoping that Albert and I will be writing a staff report back to the committee just to inform them about this registry. But there is an increase in applications in towards TUP. I believe we received maybe 3 or 4 new TUP applications the last month or so, just due to their May 1st registry. And we're working closely with them, and hopefully that we can bring this forward to you guys.
Myself have received a few calls from people just woken up to that. The fact that they have to get compliant. How fast can it happen? Well, it takes a little bit of time. Director?
Yeah, thanks for those comments. We're outside discussion of this particular application, but I think it's still good to have it because there, we know there's hundreds of vacation rentals out there. And if you start to see that there's a flood, if there's, I'm just from a staff perspective, I just want to make sure that you're ready and able and that it doesn't take away from building permits. So I don't know if there's a way to streamline those processes or if they're not too onerous, but maybe at a future meeting you can update us, because if all 300 or 400 or 500 vacation rentals all of a sudden decide to come into the fold, like we're gonna get pretty flooded. The good news is, I mean, what I used to see as a flaw at our regional district is that we're really late to the vacation rental issue. So we can, for the fall report, we can learn a lot. Like the last 2 weeks, I was looking at what's happening in Tofino and just a nightmare they're going through, because they had a pretty good vacation rental policy for the last 10 years. And then they decided to take on the default provincial policy, and then they ended up with their room full of people, both existing owners and others, just railing at council for following because it changed. So I think we have a lot to look at for the fall report around the pitfalls to avoid and to create a system that in the long run will be appropriate for our community, so we don't end up with a flood of vacation rentals, but that we can have an appropriate amount permitted and servicing those communities from an accommodation perspective. So yeah, I guess it's a value that we waited, and I look forward to your work in the fall for sure. In the meantime, we can vote on this one, I guess.
We're gonna vote on. No, there we are. We're gonna vote on receipt of the report. So anyone opposed to receipt? That carries. Now, we also have some correspondence we have to receive as well. So on the correspondence, well, we'll go to the addendum next, right? Okay, so on this item, we have what, four correspondence, 3? 1, 2, 3, 3 on this one. So on those 3, anyone opposed? That carries. A motion to vary the agenda to bring forward the addendum. All in favor? That carries. So we have correspondence in the addendum as well. I believe we have 1, 2, 3, 4 altogether. Motion to bring forward to receive the correspondence. Okay, and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? It carries. That brings us back to the recommendation attached. Yes, do we have anybody wishing to speak on this matter in the room? Sorry. I don't see any. Ask for a second, third and final time. So the recommendation's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the recommendation portion? Seeing nothing, call the question. Anyone opposed? That carries. Thank you very much. And we have, that's it. We're done. We'll move on to item 4, Electoral Area C Development Variance Permit, DV1C 257200, Forbidden Plateau Road. Moved and seconded on that one. And again, over to CAO for introductions.
Thank you, Chair. Carter Ruff, Planner 1, will be introducing this report on the development variance permit in Area C. Carter.
Thank you. I'd like to invite the applicant Sonia and Barry Natition to the desk beside me here. Through the CEO to the chair and committee members, a development variance permit application has been received for reducing the minimum road frontage requirement of a proposed lot from 10% to 4% of its perimeter in order to facilitate a proposed 2-lot subdivision. The subject property, located at 72 Forbidden Plateau Road, is approximately 20.4 hectares and zoned Rural 20, Exception 16. The applicant is proposing to subdivide the property into two 10.2 hectare lots. As a condition of subdivision approval, the applicant must comply with subdivision standards contained in the CVRD zoning bylaw. The zoning bylaw requires lots created by subdivision to have a minimum frontage of 10% of the lot's total perimeter. The bylaw defines frontage as the total length of lot lines which adjoin a highway or access road. With respect to this application, the road frontage is calculated by dividing the total length of lot lines abutting Forbidden Plateau Road by the lot's perimeter. While proposed lot B meets the minimum requirements, proposed lot A is only able to achieve a road frontage of 4%. The purpose of the minimum frontage requirement is generally to ensure that the parcel is large enough to accommodate adequate vehicle access, space for building envelopes, and in the case of further subdivision potential, access to future lots. The Advisory Planning Commission C considered this file at their March 13th, 2025 meeting and voted unanimously to support the variance application as proposed because the panhandle is wide enough to provide future access. Adjacent property owners within 100 meters of subject property were provided the opportunity to comment on the proposal at least 10 days before the ESC meeting, and as of today, no responses were received. Staff are recommending approval of the DVP as the proposed lot has a panhandle width of 40 meters and sufficient access, buildable site area, and space for permitted uses. Furthermore, the proposed lot maintains the existing neighborhood character. Staff and the applicant are now available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Well done. I think this is the first presentation, isn't it, the board? This your first presentation? No? Sorry. Go ahead.
I've had a few.
A few, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you made a big impression this time, I tell you. Okay, so any discussion on this panhandle? My only question is who's going to buy the Bobcat to do the snow clearing on this puppy? It's going to be quite the driveway up there. Okay. So I see no further questions. Anybody wishing to speak to the matter in the gallery? I don't see any person there. So on receipt, anyone opposed? That carries. Moving second on the recommendation. No discussion on that. I'll call a question. All in favor? That carries. Thanks very much. So move on to number 5, electoral area A, commercial and industrial form and character development permit application for 2750 Cumberland Road. Moving second on receipt and over to staff again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, Carter Ruff, our planner 1, will be introducing this report for the Cumberland Road development permit application. Carter.
Through the CEO to the chair and committee members, a commercial and industrial form of character development permit application has been received for the construction of a single detached dwelling. The subject property, located at 2750 Cumberland Road, is approximately 1.58 hectares and zoned industrial light. The property is currently used by a landscaping logging business. The existing development consists of workshops, offices, and open storage yards. The lot is mostly cleared of vegetation and surfaced with gravel. The applicant proposes to construct a single detached dwelling in the southeast corner of the property within the freshwater development permit area of a fish-bearing creek. As a result, the freshwater DP was applied for in conjunction with this application, and the proposal complies with the biologist's recommendations for protecting the stream from development impacts. With respect to the form of character DP, the official community plan contains guidelines that impose requirements pertaining to architectural design, landscape screening, and rainwater management. Principal intent of these guidelines is to ensure attractive and coordinated development with respect to neighborhood character and to ensure that there are adequate buffers in place to reduce conflicts with adjacent residential properties. As per these submitted architectural drawings, all exterior walls of the dwelling will be finished in a similar cohesive manner with gray panel siding and black trim. The building is anticipated to maintain existing neighborhood character considering the surrounding area consists of low density residential development. As for the submitted landscaping plan, the development area will be screened from the neighboring residential property by an existing hedge along the property line and privacy fencing and trees perpendicular to the hedge. And as for the submitted rainwater management plan, all rainwater runoff from the development area will be directed into a rock pit, and this will ensure that the pre-development rainwater flows are maintained. The Advisory Planning Commission considered this file at their March 3rd, 2025 meeting and voted unanimously to support the application as the proposed development enhances the property and provides adequate landscape screening. And staff are recommending approval of the development permit as the development satisfies the OCP guidelines surrounding forming character, screening, and rainwater management. The applicant, Andrew Johnson, said that he would be attending online via Zoom, so he should now be available to answer any questions.
Does the applicant online wish to make any comments? You're muted.
No, I have nothing further to add. I appreciate Carter and his help getting us this far in the process.
I see you've got 3 garages there. Do you have a bunch of antique cars?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Gotta plan ahead.
It just sent up flags for me. I thought, well, maybe he's a collector with all those garages. We have some questions though. Director Arbor has questions.
I don't think I have questions, but comments. Yeah, this went through the area APC and on the sort of forming character. That was all good, all positive. I think we saw an application from that site a few years ago, just around Slade Road for a different project, but it all looks good. The only thing I'd mention, because I just jigged my memory, which was a totally different issue, but when I was knocking on doors in 2018, there were questions about noise. And a note that I haven't heard again from those neighbors on Mabley Road behind, which will be the immediate neighbor. So I do appreciate the buffering that's being put on with that particular neighborhood. I think it was just a couple homes that had concerns at the time. But again, that's 6 years ago and I haven't heard anything since. So no, it's good. It adds a bit more housing in that odd neighborhood that's part of Area A. It's like surrounded by Courtney and close to Area C, and I make sure to go knock on doors every election there because they're kind of Courtney in nature, but yet they're part of my area. So anyways, good application and thanks to staff for their work on this. Cheers.
Yeah, I guess they're the main reason why you're on the water committee. Any other questions of the applicant? Anybody wishing to speak on the matter? Seeing none. On receipt. Anybody opposed? That carries, and the recommendation attached. Moving second on the recommendation. Seeing no further lights, call a question on the recommendation. All those opposed? It carries. Gotcha. Okay, number 6. Electoral Area A again, application for a site-specific floodplain setback for Ships Point Road. Moving second on receipt. And over to staff.
Thank you, Chair. Stephanie Pollock, our planner 2, will be introducing this report for the floodplain setback. Stephanie.
Thank you. Through the CAO to the chair and committee members, an application for a site-specific exemption to the floodplain management bylaw has been received for the property at 7866 Ships Point Road. The subject property is approximately 0.17 hectares. Existing development includes a single detached dwelling. A previous proposal for an addition to the subject house under FR 6A23 was approved by the CVRD board on March 12, 2024. Following the board's approval of the exemption application, it was found that this Section 219 covenant could not be prepared in the normal course. The applicants revised their proposal to move all proposed habitable floor area above the prescribed flood construction level, which is the subject of this application. Proposed is an addition with an attached garage on the first floor and about 76 square meters of habitable area on the second floor of the addition constructed above the prescribed flood construction level, or FCL. Being within 100 meters of the sea, the applicant hired a professional engineer to prepare a geotechnical report relating to flood hazard per the floodplain management bylaw. The report prescribes a flood construction level of 7.4 meters and establishes that the 2100-year floodplain setback extends beyond the extent of the property itself, leaving the entire property within the floodplain setback and thus requiring an exemption from the bylaw, as permitted through Section 524 of the Local Government Act. The report prescribes a lesser setback of 15 meters from the present natural boundary, which the proposed development meets, and the 7.4 meter FCL, which the proposal also meets. The report provides the following mitigation measures required for the land to be considered safe for its intended use. 1, development is to follow the prescribed lesser setback of 15 meters from the PNB. 2, foundation construction is to be designed to ensure erosion resistance. And 3, grading and drainage requirements are to be followed. Given the findings in the engineer's report and the provincial guidelines regarding ballot hardship, staff support the approval of this application with the engineer's report registered as a restrictive covenant. Staff are available to answer any questions, as is the applicant Howard 3Ds here to my right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does the applicant wish to speak? Have anything to add?
Only to say the process has taken quite a bit longer than we anticipated, but hopefully we get where we'd like to be. I currently work in Kitimat and trying to move down here permanently to retire, and moved my wife 2.5 years ago. And anyway, so we've kind of been backing and forthing since then. Anyway, but
Yeah, it's been a process. We've
it has
seen you
been.
at this table before, so congratulations on persevering and ticking all the ticky boxes that are required in today's world.
We love the community. We love our neighbors. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to being here permanently. That's all.
We're looking forward to having you here. Director Arbor, anything to add?
Yeah, thanks. It's interesting. This one came back because that's one that I heard about, because you're definitely on the bleeding edge of our coastal floodplain impact since we produced it in 2022, and we started that climate adaptation work due to expected tidal and also just ocean rise generally. So, and I did get some flack for my decision at the time from not people in this boardroom, but elsewhere in the community, because I think in the early days of that, even as a table, we struggle with decision making around some of those risk areas. I'm sure over the next decade, like, there's going to be some serious discussion at CVRD around managed retreat, which is, not to allow to build anymore in some of those zones that are clearly going to be, to avoid some of the stuff we see in Florida, where people keep building and then eventually 50 years later, it just gets washed away. And sadly, Ships Point, which for me is frightening as the elected official, Ships Point as a whole is one of our higher risk areas, according to our coastal floodplain, including the road getting into it, which is projected to be underwater for a good part of the year in about 80 years from now. So it's they're very significant, but we're trying to pace it. Pace our decision making in a way and have those discussions, but at the same time, I do agree with the staff recommendation that as we're embarking on that journey, we also need to think about the people that are invested in these communities. And so I think we need to raise awareness of some of the danger. And in this case, there's a bunch of requirements that come attached with your build. And it's interesting that it ended up being shifted to, having to elevate. So apologies for the delay, but I'm also not fully surprised based on engineers and liability and all those things that are coming to bear on these projects. So yeah, I'm quite happy to pass it today, but I think it won't stop the discussion in a lot of our waterfront properties around how we build or not in the future. And those are going to be much more difficult conversations if we ever get to a point where we start saying, actually, we shouldn't build. we're not there yet. We're still trying to figure it out, and we want to have fairness to people who are investing in properties. So I think this is aligned with that philosophy for today. Thanks.
Well, I'm kind of on the other side of that fence. I think that our job is duty to warn, to bring these things forward to the homeowner. But eventually, the homeowner himself has to be culpable for any damage that occurs. But apparently the province doesn't see it that way either. So we turn out being a nanny state, having to hold people's hands all the time, which is, puts us in the line of fire, I think, in a way. But I'm really happy that we managed to find a solution for this particular project for you. Anybody else in the gallery have to speak on the matter? I don't see anything. So I'm going to call a question on receipt of that report. Anybody opposed? That carries, and the recommendation attached. Moving second on the recommendation. Any further comments, questions, statements, rants, raves? No. All in favor? That carries. Thanks very much. Thanks, Stephanie. Now we're getting near the end. I see we have some visitors in our gallery. Welcome. Understand you guys are thinking about a possible career in local government or senior government or staff or maybe an elected official. Hopefully you get out there and pound the pavement and knock on doors and get yourselves elected. And when that happens, it's a whole new world. We're just at the very end, actually, of our meeting here. We got one item coming up. Director Harvey, you want to make a comment?
I mean, it's great to see young people show up at our meeting, and it might be good to under new business if one of them wants to come and introduce themselves and why they're here. That I'd be happy to do a late item on this and just to hear a minute of the occasion.
Sure. Doesn't seem to send any ripples of fear into their faces. We'll see who likes microphones. All right, so we have the Electoral Area Services Planning Preparation coming up. And I guess the question was, if we want to discuss it at this meeting or you want to wait for Director Hardy to be present at the meeting. But like I said, I kind of planted the seed again about our resolution status report, and maybe that should form a basis of our discussion regarding what we're going to be putting on our strategic planning session for coming up. Do we have a date for that now? We do.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we're suggesting that it could be part of the June 9th Electoral Area Services Committee meeting, taking the afternoon or whatever time is needed to be able to have that during that meeting. And as well, the strategic initiatives report that comes to you once every 2 or 3 months, 3 or 4 months. That's the board's 30+ strategic initiatives, but we could narrow it down to those that are most applicable to the electoral areas.
There's 30 in here already.
Yeah, that's the resolutions report.
Yes.
The strategic initiatives report is the one that has the mini Gantt charts with it, if
Yeah.
you remember. Yeah.
The charts.
And there will be an update to that report. It was most recently presented in October. There will be an update, I think, at the end of May. So we could pull together all of those items that are specific to the EAs and bring that to your June 9th meeting as well. But I think the intent of putting the item on today's agenda was simply to give some notice to the EA directors, and if there was anything else that you wanted to specifically bring forward or give some consideration to, we could have that discussion here today. But otherwise, we would be preparing for the June 9th session.
Director Harvey, you got some thoughts?
Yes, definitely. So for strategic planning, I think for the coming year, I think there's a couple of items that I would highlight that I would like to discuss at our June session. One is I'll have my letter ready soon to split the park service of A, B, and C. And so there'll actually be an item to discuss at that time. And what I'll recommend is that we do a bit like the community facilities service, where B and C are together and Area A is on its own in the south. Hornby and Denman, of course, have their own park services, so we don't need to include them in that discussion. But for the Bainstown portion, I would like to have that at strategic planning, following the letter I'll send in the next couple of weeks. Another one I would like to highlight is the work around the housing authority in the context of the rural areas, because we are all service participants. And as we work to address affordable housing and attainable housing, I think the gravity, like not the gravity, but the pull will be for a lot of the projects to be in the municipalities, which we understand and support. At the same time, we want to craft some space for initiatives in the rural areas. Hornby is currently completing the Beulah Creek project, as you know, with the 26 units. But I'm already talking with Hornby Housing and with the Economic Development Group there. They're trying to identify a Crown Line site, and they're looking at a model to maybe put in some kind like a mobile home park or something like that. And I think that would be a great initiative for the Housing Authority, as would the project on Denman Island, where they already have the land right across from the community hall, but they may have requests for us around financing through the Housing Authority because they've been stuck in getting funding from the province and federal government for some time. And it'd be great to help them unlock the potential for a project, an affordable housing project there as well. So I think it'd be good to have a discussion for our rural areas as the Housing Authority gets created. Of course, we'll have the broader discussion at the broader table, but it might be good to have a discussion at our table to see how we want to represent. I know there's opportunities in Black Creek. I don't know about Area B. There might be some opportunities, but I think it'd be a good topic at a time where that's going to be the sole focus, in the coming year for the CVRD will be a big focus on that one. So I would just highlight those two, the parks and the housing for now. And I think the rest, we have a list of, as was mentioned earlier, we have a long list of items. So we can definitely touch base on all of those as well. And that's my thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, further to that, the at UBCM last year when they had the electoral area lunch, they had BC Housing talk for half an hour on items that had absolutely no bearing on rural areas. And they, it doesn't apply to you guys. You don't have servicing. So there may be some changes coming up with in light of the new election. We may have some new housing initiatives we could discuss. At that point, it might be a different playing field too. We don't know. So I think, yeah, I think that it doesn't lend itself well to anything outside of secondary dwellings right now. And we already know we're running into problems with 514 subdivision processes and whatever else, So I think we have to almost wait for senior government to catch up to us on this right now. I don't think Steve can go alone on this. So, and of course, when it comes to the parks, expect some opposition to your opinion. I think we need to stay united. That's my opinion, but we'll see. We can discuss that as well. But you have some other thoughts?
Okay, thank you for that comment. I appreciate it. Give me a sense of. I think it'd be a friendly one. If we're not able to arrive at a friendly solution, I will ask for a formal service review to exit the service. And I'm not bluffing. So I'm hoping that we can have some constructive discussions around the future of the park service in light of the fact that the three of us are now in a regional park service where a lot of those larger purchases like Stoughton Falls or otherwise will come from. For me, and I'm surprised because a couple of years ago, you and I had a talk and we were talking about how a lot of our areas is really becoming like community park service. And for me, in the long term for area, it makes sense, like a lot of our services, to be on our own so we can actually make decisions So I'm hoping you can soften your ear to the concept, because I've already told staff, otherwise I'll just put a formal service review. I'm totally intent on doing this, as I am with the recreation at the broader board. So I'm good. We're getting that initial discussion around ahead of strategic planning. In regards to your comments about housing, yeah, absolutely. I think any advocacy you can do. So with the Denman Group, and actually Jake Martins was able to be there 2 weeks ago. We had a call with Minister Kevlin, the Minister of Housing, and that was really good, because we pre-talk with Josie, and she was like, oh, you guys should really talk about the need for a rural stream for housing. Because right now, all the applications we're sending we're in competition with the big cities, whether you name the big city being Courtenay or whether you name Vancouver and where the services are. And so we softened actually the Denman Group did a great job on that by themselves, like softening his ear to the concept of a rural stream. And I think Britt Anderson, who's the rural parliamentary secretary for, oh gosh, I forget her name, but she's in Nelson anyways. She was on the call as well, and she was actually supporting that, saying we need a rural stream so that communities that won't see a ton of growth can also have projects and be serviced through partnership with the province and federal government. And we haven't seen that kind of language in years. Like, we've been left out and on our own in the rural communities because they just want to invest in growth areas. So that was a really good call. And I support you, Dr. Graven, both the advocacy and talking about that further at strategic planning.
Perhaps they could even support affordable local water systems. That would
Yes,
help
that
a
too.
lot.
That's another topic. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're always out of sync with the province. If municipalities are the stepchildren of the province, and we're they're the children of the province, we're the stepchildren of the province in the rural areas. Okay, so any other discussion on that? We'll call the question. It's not even on receipt, it's just a discussion, so we don't need to move it. Okay, so that brings us to yeah, do you want to put them on the actual? So oh, you're in trouble, guys.
Yeah, thanks. I'd like to vary the agenda to welcome our youth delegation, and I don't really have a heads up of how they got here. So if they can come to the mic, and maybe we'll ask each of them to introduce themselves, and maybe for one of them to tell us how you got here today and what your interests are, and that would be great. So a little bit of pressure, but we don't see young people here very often, so it's great to see you here.
Actually, Chair, and Director, if I can interject a little bit and maybe not put the pressure on our high school work experience students who have come in. So we are, Comox Valley Regional District is in partnership with Comox Valley Schools. And this is a bit of a pilot project, but trying to bring in some students who have perhaps an interest in local government. And so this is the first of potentially a couple of opportunities throughout 2025, and if successful, we'll carry on into future years. But these 4 students have, I think, willingly agreed to attend our offices for a couple of days here. And over the next couple of days, they're going to be visiting the Corporate Records and Information Department, as well as Legislative Services, which is probably why they've joined us here in the civic room today. And getting to know a little bit about the work that we do and what local government is all about. And so I'm not sure I want to put them on the spot to come and speak to the microphone necessarily, but it is an exciting opportunity. I am thankful that we have these 4 students here, and I look forward to, in the fall, a similar outreach where we'd have students coming in, partnering with the Communications and Engagement Department and the Information Systems and GIS Department. So. And again, if successful, we'll look to further engage on other branches and departments with the RD and build interest in local government careers.
Well, as the chair, I would ask if you guys would be open to coming and sitting at the 4 mics there and just introducing yourselves.
Yeah.
It'd be good. It's experience, it's work experience.
I happen to know one of them quite well as well.
You do?
So
okay.
just by chance.
But if you like, we won't put you on the spot on anything, but it gives you good opportunity to use the microphones and sit in the chair and get